this is like really changing the mood, but I wanted to talk about, if you're open to it,
Always.
your period of going through depression and anxiety.
Mm.
I feel like a lot of people, especially young people, can probably relate. And
Sure.
especially you touch on feeling lost.
Mm.
Can you talk about that a little
Sure.
bit more?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think it's, super important for us to talk about these things, because
Yeah.
I remember when I was going through my version of what that felt like.
What did it feel like?
What did it feel like? Honestly, a lot of like physical symptoms, like colors weren't as vibrant. Food didn't taste good. Lost my taste.
Really?
Yeah, I lost cognitive ability. I found it actually incredibly hard to read and write. Yeah, and just lots of like social anxiety. Like I couldn't go out in public with like a lot of, I kept this hidden a lot, like I made a good effort to put my clown face on and, like act as if I was all good to all my friends and fam. But there were a few individuals that knew like the gravity of what I was going through. But, for the most part, like I was young, like I didn't really understand that. I thought that what I was going through was very unique to me. I was just like, no one else is going through this. I couldn't, and that's why I kind of felt like I couldn't open up. But the more I heard others open up about what they were going through, the more it made me feel like I wasn't alone. It made me feel like, okay, this is a normal thing for human beings to experience, and that made me want to open up more. And that's why I think it's important. Like if you open up about what you're going through, you never know, like there might be someone listening that is also going through a similar period and similar emotions and similar like challenges within themselves or external as well. And what you have to say about that can change someone's life. It can totally alter how someone feels about themselves, or what direction they need to take, or what they need to do next, like in order to kind of like help themselves through this period of challenge. So for me, it was, I guess it stemmed from a period where like a lot of things happened at once. Like I'm not coming from a victim mindset right now, but like at the time I very much was victim. Like I came out of a relationship and the relationship was a little bit dysfunctional. I'm actually very good friends with that person now though.
Are you?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Really interesting. Like a couple of years after the relationship, we connected again and like just had a good chat and just broke it down. And she's a legend. But at the time, like it was quite toxic for both of us in the relationship. So I came out of that. There was a lot of stuff that went on in that relationship that like I kind of took on. Like there was a lot of fighting. So like I had a lot of anger built up in me. There were all sorts of things came through from that relationship that like were a part of me after I came out of it that I had to kind of weed out again. My parents split up at the time as well, like around the same period. We moved out of our family home of like, we had some property. It was like my safe space. I would go down to, like we had a paddock. It was beautiful. I'd go down there and that would be a nice space for me to just like disconnect. But we moved out of that into a busy little house on a main road. And, my dog of 15 years passed away and he was like my best little buddy.
No.
So I was just like, fuck life. Like I came out of, school just like super stoked and ready to just take everything on, and just got hit with a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, wow, okay, like is this what life is? Just like pain and suffering. For me anyway, I was just taken back by it all, and there was probably about like, I don't know, maybe like 95% of my mind was like negative and limiting and anxious and stressed and fearful, and there was a small little voice in my head that was saying like, stick with it, man. Like, it's going to be okay. I believed that, like, that voice only just, like I said, like 5% of myself believed in that voice. But naturally...
Did you think it was going to last forever?
I didn't think that. I thought that I was just going to exist like that forever, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought, like, it was to the point where I was so anxious about leaving my home. I didn't actually think that I would ever travel. Like, I didn't think that I would go overseas and travel. I didn't think that I would have the ability to even move out of home. I thought I was going to be like Brennan and Dale off Step Brothers, just like... We won't go into the Step Brothers quotes. It could last for an hour.
Yeah. Great movie though. Ooh.
Oh God, I love that movie.
We're talking about something so deep, and
Yeah,
then we're like,
yeah.
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
Oh, the ADHD's kicking in.
You have to call me Dragon. No, so I
Didn't want the sound.
said it 4 times. It's wedding is horse shit. No, we gotta stop.
Sorry,
Just to lighten things up a little bit. No. Okay, we'll bring it back.
We're back.
Bring it back. Yeah, so I found like this was where slacklining came in, right? I was just in this place where I was like, I dropped out of uni as well. That was another thing. So I had like very little direction for my life.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck am I going to do? This is before I did my PT course or anything like that. Actually, no, I believe I did do my PT course at that point, but I had like dropped out and I didn't do the online modules. I was like, I gave up on it. And I was like, how the hell am I supposed to like actually coach someone, you know, when I don't have enough confidence in myself to, you know, I can't even coach myself right now. You know, like how am I just did not feel like I was in a just position to have that type of role. So yeah, I'd really I was just doing landscaping at the time, just mowing lawns and stuff. I was like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. But yeah, it was taking myself to the park and slacklining. That saved me, I believe. It was just getting those small wins in the park and enjoying an activity for the first time. Like I stopped doing all the stuff that I love doing. Like I stopped surfing, skateboarding, you know, like I was doing a little bit of gym training, but I was a little bit injured at the time. I was just doing like bodybuilding kind of style training, not enough functional stuff, not enough activation work and rehab stuff, like just no stretching. And I just like, you know, obviously that's a recipe for injury. So I started experiencing injuries. I was just like, what can I do? And yeah, it was slacklining that pulled me out of it. And, you know, slowly I started to build my confidence back. And then I decided to delve into the online modules for my PT course and I completed those. And then I got an opportunity working at a gym in Bowen Hills, and that's where it kind of started to go uphill from there. I found myself just feeling really, you know, obviously like an element of PT is you kind of have to break down the reason as to like why people are there training. And because I was, you know, quite a sensitive dude, and I was, you know, I'd experienced a lot in that period. You know, I had guys like, I don't know what it was about me, but like I had people open up to me about like why they were training. You know, it's just like, oh, I'm like insecure about my body, or like, oh, I'm going through like a bit of depression right now. You know, I'm here to make myself feel better, you know, and that made me feel better because I was like, wow, okay, like there's people here that are taking action towards their health and their mental health. They're open about what they're going through, which made me want to be more open. And it also, I was just like, I'm not alone. There's other people out there that are experiencing adversity, from a mental adversity and physical challenges as well. So yeah, I didn't feel so alone, and yeah, slowly just built my confidence up from there. But yeah, what I preach is if anyone's going through a period like that, it's about showing up for yourself, even if it's just one day a week for an hour. You go and do something for yourself, you know. And when you're in that state, you don't want to do anything for yourself. Like a lot of people, there's like a lot of animosity towards oneself when they're in that period. You know, it's, you know, you're not good enough. You're this. You're that. It's all negativity. But it's if you can just hold on to that 5% of positivity, that's like, hey man, like go and try something new, go and do a new practice. That's why I think like my kind of what I want to preach is that there's a practice or multiple practices out there for everyone of equal value. It doesn't have to be slacklining. It can be training. It can be some sort of, I think creativity and depression, like creativity and art and depression go hand in hand. You know, someone I look up to said that, and yeah, that stuck with me because you can channel whatever it is that you're going through into art. Like some of the best, most impactful songs and pieces of art hold a lot of emotion. You know, that's people channeling their emotion and what they're going through into their artwork. It's a way to express. It's a way to, you know, harness those challenges and emotions that you're going through into something creative. You know, you can channel that energy into it. So find a practice, pursue a practice. It doesn't matter what that is, you know, and if you haven't found that yet, you know, what do you got to lose? Keep looking, keep searching, try new things. show up to as many positive spaces as possible. You know, if you've got super sad songs on your playlist, put those aside for a second. You know, start listening to happy music. You know, start listening to good podcasts like Attitudes with Andy.
Shameless
Shout
plug.
out. You know, show up to brotherhood events or familyhood events. You know, for example, like these wholesome spaces that, you know, they just feed the soul in a really healthy manner. And at the start, it may not feel like it's working. You know, like you may just feel like that didn't work. But every time you show up for yourself in that manner, I saw it as like accumulating. It was like compounding. It's just like every slackline in the park, boom, there's another one in the bank. You know, every good podcast that I listen to, or like good, like even just a page of a self-help book, boom, into the compounding, you know, that goes into the bank. It's just like constantly. And then over time, that little 5% of positivity turned into 10 and then 15 and 20. And now I'm, you know, of course I have my days. You know, I have my days when I have little periods where I wake up and I'm just like, I just don't feel like being, you know, on top of it today. Like, you know, you have those days where you wake up, you feel negative. But I've now equipped myself with practices and tools that allow me to step back into myself when I'm feeling like that. So I would just say to anyone out there, if you're experiencing adversity, show up for yourself in as many different spaces as possible, try as many different practices as possible, and connect with really cool, groovy humans. And you'll slowly start to feel better and better and better.
Yeah.